broadcast is being sponsored by James Lumber, providing all your lumber and hardware needs since 1952. James Lumber on Prospect Road in Strongsville wishes the 1987 Strongsville graduates good luck with confidence because we build confidence. And by Strongsville Savings Bank. Established in 1961, Strongsville Savings Bank is now a complete financial center for all your financial needs. Contact us for home, car, and boat loans as well as Visa and MasterCard services. Congratulations and best wishes to the Strongsville High School class of '87. And by Weber & Sons Service and Repair. Weber & Sons Service and Repair offering complete mechanical repair for cars, trucks, marine engines, and lawnmowers congratulates the class of '87. Located at 20720 Westwood Drive in Strongsville. Quality repair, people who care.
Please be seated. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 89th annual commencement for Strongsville Senior High School. My name is Ted Bartow, and as principal of this fine graduating class, it is indeed my honor to act as your host this evening. Tonight's commencement ceremony marks a very special point of achievement, not only for our graduates and their parents, but also for our school system. We are excited tonight to host the first commencement here in this spacious facility, where we can afford our parents ample and comfortable seating. We hope it truly does add to your enjoyment this evening. Behind me and behind this curtain, Mr. John Bedford, Coordinator of Audiovisual Services for the Strongsville City Schools, is at this very moment broadcasting tonight's commencement in what we believe to be the first ever live satellite broadcast of a commencement back to the residents in Strongsville, Ohio. As excited as we are, however, about the telecasting and of our being in this lovely facility, we must remember that it has all been pursued in an effort to provide further coverage and recognition to tonight's most deserving senior class. Accordingly, as many of the guests of honor represented on this stage have played critical roles in the educational careers of our graduates, I would like to begin tonight's ceremony by appropriately introducing them to you. In addition to many interested spouses, there are on stage many of the district's elementary, secondary, and central office administrators whose early guidance and involvement have played such a crucial role in enabling our graduates to make it to this point of achievement. Additionally, and I would like to ask that these individuals please stand for a moment, please recognize the following very special guests this evening. The Reverend Joseph Sontaman, Strongsville United Methodist Church. Our featured commencement speaker, Dr. Alfred B. Bonds, President Emeritus, Baldwin Wallace College. The Strongsville Board of Education members, President, Mrs. Carol Sweeney. Vice President, Mr. James Marietta. Mrs. Phyllis Cermak. Mr. William Matthews. Mr. Richard Willett. Ms. Karen Howell, Senior Advisor, and our respected Superintendent of Schools, Dr. John A. Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, for tonight's invocation, the Reverend Joseph Sontaman.
Let us pray. O Lord God, giver of life and truth and love, we cannot help but sense the excitement here this night. All you need to do is look in the faces of these graduates. The thoughts that they have this night are mixed feelings. Some are happy that this night has come. Some even sigh a sigh of relief that it's done. But we pause this moment, O Lord, to acknowledge that you have given these graduates a life to live to the fullest. We give you thanks that these lives have touched the administrators and teachers, and in a very real way, they have learned what it means to walk a road of truth. We give you thanks for the families and relatives represented here this night, for their support, most of all for the love that they have shared. And now, O Lord, as we come to a moment that will be remembered, may this be a time in which we anticipate and are excited for what will come in these days, yes, years ahead. We pray that you will go with them and that they may live out their lives knowing the way, the truth, and the life. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Good evening. I would like to introduce to you Leslie Warren, who was the secretary of the Mustang Express, a member of Cantorum and the flag team for 3 years. Leslie has been awarded a scholarship by the Strongsville High School Music Boosters and was also awarded the American Choral Directors Association National Student Award. Leslie plans to attend Kent State University, where she intends to major in music education. Leslie will now lead us in the singing of the first verse of the Alma Mater. The words of the Alma Mater can be found on the first page of the commencement program. Would everyone please stand for the singing of the Alma Mater? Would the class please be seated?
Thank you, Mrs. Hollow. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is indeed a very real pleasure to present to you the valedictorian of the senior class. This year's valedictorian is graduating with a grade point average of 4.0. With an ACT score of 30 and SAT scores in the 95th percentile, she has received not only a $1,000 Ohio academic scholarship, but also a full tuition presidential scholarship to Ohio Wesleyan University, where she will begin this fall as a pre-law major. Ladies and gentlemen, most deservedly, may I present the valedictorian of the class of 1987, Ms. Chris Brody.
I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of our honored guests, our parents, families, faculty, and the graduating students of the class of 1987. As we approach graduation, we are reaching a turning point in our lives. And as we're commencing tonight, we're passing through a gateway into our future. We're moving on into the diverse paths that we'll follow throughout our lives. And although most of us have followed the similar paths so far, we are now branching out in many directions. And although our paths may be different, we must all pursue the same goal, the bettering of our world. In this constantly changing world, I'd like to express some of my ideas on my and our future. Ahead of us lie many challenges and adventures. Some of us will go on to colleges and universities, and others will go on to vocational schools, the military, and the working world. As we are venturing out into society, we'll meet people from all walks of life. We'll experience the professional world, and we'll also experience firsthand the roles that our parents experienced before us. The world will belong to our generation, the future of our planet. And we're finally entering the real world, and we must ready ourselves for the roles that we will assume in society. It is time to specialize in our respective professions in order to help society change and move with the advances in technology, science, and society itself. We must also learn to cope with the problems of our society. We're leaving our safe, secure homes to become a leading power in the world. We must learn to take responsibility for our actions in order to solve the problems of our planet. Through our efforts, we may achieve our aspirations in areas such as nuclear power, human relations, science, and technology. With the help of our generation, we can turn any minor setbacks into successes, and therefore we will be responsible for a major turning point in our world's history. But first we must learn from our mistakes and those of our predecessors, and then we'll make our own advances toward lasting peace. Finally, we are graduating into the space age of technological achievements and unimagined success. New scientific breakthroughs are occurring all of the time, and we're progressing into an age where satellites and space technology are making possible many achievements that were never even imagined a few generations ago. We're in an age of nuclear power and all of its unexplored possibilities. And every day, new cures and ways of preventing disease are being discovered. All of these advances will be in our hands to continue the perfection of our planet in as much as that is humanly possible. In conclusion, as we pass this gateway into a new and unfamiliar world of changes and difficulties, our combined strength will allow us to overcome the difficulties as well as the troubles of our world. Without looking left or right, and especially not back, we'll go forward to make this world a better place because our generation has the power and the opportunity more than any before to reach the goals and the ambitions that our predecessors only dreamed of achieving. And everything will begin with this commencement, our graduation into the real world, which is our world now. We'll all have a chance to reach out and attain all of the opportunities presented by this world. And as all of this is possible now as we're passing through this gateway into our futures, today, the 8th day of June of 1987, in our graduation from Strongsville High School.
Thank you, Chris. It has been my pleasure to know this year's salutatorian since he entered the 7th grade. And as I mentioned in senior salute a week ago, no, I am not the least bit surprised that he has earned the right to be the salutatorian for the class of 1987. Graduating second in a class of 499 with a GPA of 3.97, this year's salutatorian has challenged himself very successfully on the rigors of numerous honors level courses. Graduating to begin his undergraduate studies in aerospace engineering at Ohio State University, I am most proud to present Mr. J. Matthew Urbancic, salutatorian for the class of 1987. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Urbancic.
Well, we finally made it. It took a long time, but we're finally graduating from Strongsville High School. Today is a happy occasion. Our high school graduation will remain a milestone in our lives. To be here tonight, to have reached this point in our lives, each and every one of us had to face challenges. These challenges came at us in all different forms. For some, the challenge was just waking up in the morning getting ready for school. For others, it was passing that test to keep the grade in class or to reach the next higher grade. Still others was excelling in sports, trying to be the best athlete possible. All of us have faced and conquered challenges like these. Now, even as we are gathered here to celebrate having arrived at these milestones in our lives, we realize that an even more demanding challenge awaits. This challenge, pure and simple, is what are we going to do with the rest of our lives? Some of us are going on to college, while others are going on to work. How we view this new challenge depends on how well we have prepared for it. For some, it presents an exciting invitation. For others, it is an ominous threat. What makes the difference? Goals. The story is told of a man traveling on a train. The conductor came along and asked for his ticket. He searched all his pockets in vain. Finally, the conductor spoke up and said, "It's all right. Send it to the company when you find it." The man answered, "That part's okay. What bothers me is, where am I going?" We have many goals in various facets of our lives, personal, career, financial, and so forth. Because we mature and the circumstances of our lives constantly change, our goals need to be redefined constantly as well. I'd like to suggest, however, that whatever our goals may be, we keep in mind an overriding imperative, an ultimate goal. I'd like to suggest that our ultimate goal should be to make a contribution that will help the world be a better place to live in for us and for those who come after us. If we were to be influenced by the current popular books on the market, we might believe that our contribution needs to be great and speedily accomplished. Not so. And I can almost hear you thinking, I'll never be able to make that contribution. I say, think small. Abraham Lincoln, a man who we'd all agree made a great contribution, once said, "The best thing about the future is that it only comes one day at a time." So take your time. A lifetime is necessary. If we set out to save the world tomorrow, we are doomed to failure. Few of us will ever be in a position to make a singular contribution that will affect the world. But the miracle vaccine begins with a small, diverse experiment. The success of flight began with a short flight over the sand dunes of Kitty Hawk, and world peace begins with being good neighbors in our own communities. A small contribution can have mighty repercussions, like the ripples created by a small pebble tossed into a still pond. Everyone has a contribution to make. Take your time, but don't procrastinate. Procrastination is the enemy of progress. How will we know we have succeeded? We will have met the challenge and accomplished our goals. The next generation has the same opportunities to ponder the decisions we are facing today. They will have the freedom to make choices, and they will be prepared to meet the challenges that we are facing today. In the play, The Green Pastures, Noah says to the Lord, "I ain't very much, but I'm all I've got." You and I are all we've got. The question is, what are we going to do with it? Challenges, goals, contributions, and natural progression. With some planning, a lot of perseverance, and a little luck, Strongsville High Class of '87 will do the best we can. The challenge of the future is now upon us. Let's seize the opportunity. Bring on the challenge that awaits. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for a special presentation and for the introduction of this evening's keynote speaker, may I present your Superintendent of Schools, Dr. John A. Brown.
Members of the Board of Education, Mr. Bartow, members of the faculty, honored guests, parents, and most importantly, members of the graduating class of 1987. I have made every effort to keep my remarks short because I am aware that you are anxious to get on with it. You are eager to get your diploma for which you have worked so hard. You are eager to join your families and your friends to share your joy with them. You are eager to get started on your plans for the future. All of this is as it should be. For a high school graduation is far from being an end. It is, to be sure, a beginning. The beginning of all of your tomorrows. Over the past 12 years, or 13, you have worked and studied, practiced and played and grown, both mentally and physically, and now you have arrived at this point, ready to take your well-deserved place as adult members of our community. On behalf of the Strongsville Board of Education and myself, I wish to each and every one of you the happiness of a productive life, the respect of your fellow human beings, and the love of your family. The future belongs to you. Best of luck and congratulations to this year's graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I have been accorded a very special privilege in this graduation ceremony. Strongsville is indeed referred to as the crossroads of the nation. While this analogy is meant to designate the intersection of Interstate 71 and the Ohio Turnpike, it is also very appropriate when speaking of the status of the Strongsville City Schools at this time just 1 year ago. The schools were indeed at a crossroads. After an 8-year period of time with no increase in the tax rate, we were faced with some very difficult decisions that would have had a devastating effect on our schools and our community. Then something wonderfully gratifying happened. The students of the Strongsville City Schools, and particularly those in this class, came forward and said, "What can we do to help?" In conversation with these students, it became clear that they recognized whose future was at stake. They were eager and willing to do whatever was necessary to protect their future and others' future. All over the district, our students worked extremely hard to protect the staff and programs and opportunities that had come to mean so much to them. As we all know, their efforts were not in vain. Taxpayer approval means continued progress and stability for our schools, and it means that the future classes will reap and continue to reap the benefits that resulted from the work of the students this past year. Since November, my colleagues around the state have frequently questioned me about how we were able to pass a levy when other issues were defeated. I always answer the same way. The difference was the kids. Without the active involvement of our students, who were determined that our cause was just, I feel certain that our arrival at these crossroads would have been a much less pleasant journey. In short, I am convinced that the Strongsville schools are a much better place to be because of the active involvement of students in our schools. The Board of Education and I wish to recognize and express our deep appreciation for this extremely valuable contribution. Therefore, I would like to present this plaque of proclamation to Mark McQuaid, a member of your class, who will accept it on behalf of the nearly 6,000 students in the Strongsville School. Mark, would you join me on the platform, please? I'll read the inscription. To the students of the Strongsville School, with lasting appreciation for your participation in efforts to assure continued excellence for our schools and community. Strongsville Board of Education, June 8, 1987. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. In our community's efforts to reconstruct and preserve our school system, an opportunity was left for every student to get involved in some way to make a positive contribution to the Strongsville City Schools. On behalf of all the students of Strongsville, I'd like to thank you for this recognition of our efforts which went to a very worthy cause. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you again, Mark. In 1983, the Strongsville Board of Education became the first such institution in the nation to award an honorary diploma to persons whose record and performance have served the mission of education at large. In your program are listed previous and tonight's awards. The standard of serving the mission of education at large has been met by few better than our commencement speaker this year. Dr. Alfred D. Bonds retired in 1981 as the president of Baldwin Wallace College, a position he held for 26 years. That certainly does not represent all of his accomplishments. His professional biography is long and distinguished, and I can only highlight a few of his many achievements in and out of the field of education. Following a 3-year stint in the United States Navy during World War II, Dr. Bond served as the chief of the Educational Division of the National Reemployment Administration and as the Assistant Executive Secretary to the President's Commission on Higher Education. From 1949 to 1953, he was the Commissioner of Education for the state of Arkansas. The next 2 years were spent as Chief of the United States Educational Mission to Egypt. And then in 1955, he was elected President of Baldwin Wallace. He is currently honored as the President Emeritus of Baldwin Wallace. Dr. Bonds received his baccalaureate degree from Henderson State Teachers College, a master's degree from Louisiana State University, law degree from Ohio Wesleyan and Cleveland Marshall, and a doctorate in education from Baldwin Wallace. Ladies and gentlemen, it is both a personal and professional privilege for me to introduce this individual. When it comes to serving the mission of education, few in our society can match the unparalleled accomplishments of Dr. A.B. Bond. Dr. Bond.
I appreciate so much Dr. Brown's kind words. I think all of you should know that he is within the field of education regarded as a distinguished author as well as an administrator, and that he has spent several summers teaching in the great universities of our land. This summer he will teach once more at Miami University, which has one of the brightest reputations in this state of ours. I'm a little puzzled about what we're doing here. I heard someone say a while ago that this was the first time you had been out here. I saw all these people wearing these funny-looking gowns and hats. I saw this great big pile of things over here on the table. Can anybody tell me what those are? Miss Hollow, do you know?
They're diplomas.
Can you tell me about it?
This certifies that Strongsville Senior High School has awarded diplomas to all of these fine graduates.
Who is this for?
This one happens to be for our valedictorian, Kristen Brody.
Who has signed it?
Dr. John Brown, our superintendent, Ted Bartow, our principal, the president of the Board of Education, Carol Sweeney, and our treasurer, Pat Eads.
Are you sure those are their signatures?
Yes, they are.
Well, I thank you very much. I just wanted to be sure it was valid. May I keep it for a minute?
You surely may.
Who is this Kristen Brody child?
He's our valedictorian who has given our speech Gateway to the Future.
Where is she? Hey, gal. Come here a minute. I want to talk to you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, the way she was introduced a while ago was downright impressive. Come here, Chris. Is that your name? You really earned this? Congratulations to you. Now I want to ask you something. Where do you buy your clothes? You don't know. What do you buy them at Mays or Higbee's or Woolworth or Kmart? Tell me. Different places. Just one. Where? Yeah. Where? I can't hear you. Don't be shy. Here you are, valedictorian. You should be able to speak up. Tell me, just one place. May Company. All right, now, I want you to do something. I want you to take this piece of paper and go over, where you go, Parma? May's over there? Or North? All right. She says Parma. Go to Parma, go into Mays, and say, my name is Kristen Brody. I graduated from Strongsville High School last night. Here's a diploma to prove it with all the signatures on it. And I want you to give me a complete outfit of clothes to go off to college. Now, what are they going to tell you? They're going to do that? You don't think so? All right. Now I want to ask you something else. Where do you buy your groceries? Yeah. Freda? Heine? Rene's? You buy your groceries at Rene's. Okay, in the morning, Kristen Brody is going over to Rene's. And she's going to call the manager, and then she's going to say, my name is Kristen Brody. I graduated from Strongsville High School last night, and here's my diploma to prove it. And I want you to give me enough groceries for a whole month. What's he going to tell you? What? Is he going to give you the groceries? You don't think so? Oh, my goodness. Where do you buy your cars? What do you buy, Dodge or Ford or General Motors or... You don't have a car. Well, when you buy one, where are you going to buy it? Is car Dodge all right over here on the... That's all right. All right, I want you to take this over to Card tomorrow and say, my name is Kristen Brody. I graduated from Strongsville. I want a brand new Dodge. What are they going to tell you? They're going to want money. Oh, my goodness. Well, now look, I heard the man say a little while ago, you've been working 12 or 13 years to get this piece of paper. And now you've told me you can't get any groceries with it. You can't get any clothes with it. You can't get a car with it. In fact, you have in effect told me it's good for nothing. So if it's good for nothing, we might as well get rid of it. You don't really need it, do you? What? You would have liked it. All right? Keep it. And when you go over to those places, you can trade those pieces in on whatever you want. You can even have this. Whatever you need is right up here. In your mind and in your heart. And you don't need a diploma to prove it. It's sort of nice to have one. But anybody as smart as you doesn't really need it. So thank you very much. And do the best you can without it, will you? Kristen, you're a good sport. I want to see if there are any brothers and sisters of the members of this class here. If there are, would you please stand up? Brothers and sisters, members of this class, please stand up. Oh, that's wonderful. Give them a hand. Now, I want to see if there are any uncles and aunts of members of this class. Would you please rise? Oh, there they are. There they are. Give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. I want to see if there are any brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law. Not yet? Okay. I want to see all of the grandmothers and grandfathers. Would you please rise? Give them a hand. Give them a hand. That's great. Now I want to know if there are any great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers here. Any great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers? Stand up. Right over here. Now, I want to see all of the teachers who taught these folks at any time from kindergarten through 12th grade. Would you please stand up? And class, give them a hand. That includes the school board, school officers, principals, superintendents. You didn't stand. All right. I guess that's everybody, isn't it? What? Who? Oh, your parents. I never would have thought of that. All right. Let's see the papas and mamas. And you lift the roof for me. Come on, papas and mamas, stand up. Isn't that wonderful? I've had the fun of doing that 4 times. 2 boys and 2 girls. It sure is fun, too. Well, you worked 12 years for a piece of paper, which, as we found out a little while ago, is worthless in terms of providing you with your fundamental needs. But you know, as I told Chris, she's got a savings bank in her head and in her heart for all of the needs. And she can add to that treasury every day. A teacher named Fulgham told us that we learned all we needed to know, all the fundamental laws of effective living in kindergarten. You were taught to share everything, to play fair and not to hit people. You learned to put things back where you found them, to clean up your own mess and not to take things that didn't belong to you. Your teachers taught you to say you were sorry when you hit somebody, to wash your hands before you eat, and to flush. You should have learned that warm cookies and cold milk would make you grow. Our teachers tried to teach us to live a balanced life, to learn to think, to draw, to paint, to sing, to dance and play. And they also wanted us to work a little bit every day. Kindergarten affirmed the need for a nap every afternoon. So we had to take our pallet, stretch out on that floor about 3 o'clock. And I still do it. It's fun. Teacher also told us when we started home to watch the traffic, hold hands, and stick together. We learned about hamsters, goldfish, ant colonies, white mice, but we found out that they all die. And so do we. Somewhere back there we were exposed to a book about Dick and Jane. And the biggest word of all was look, see. Everything that we need to know is in that written word somewhere and in the world around you. Now, wouldn't it be a better world if the 5 billion people of us had cookies and milk about 3 o'clock every afternoon and then enjoyed a nap? Or if we could get the whole world's family of nations to always put things back where they belong and to clean up their own mess, then maybe we would be prepared, no matter how old we are, to go out in the world to remember we can all live better if we hold hands and stick together. This class is standing at an everlasting doorway which will lead you to the rest of your life. You have in your minds the power to decide how you will make use of that treasury of time which has been allotted to each one of us. And my first charge is, don't be frightened. It is a frightening world with a nuclear cloud hanging over it. Even though the 5 billion other people who share this planet have created a society which runs about as smoothly as a car with square wheels. You're entering adult life when most world leaders are behaving like spoiled and selfish children. But this is a time for asserting the dignity and promise with which you are endowed. You're bringing in a new level of knowledge. Combine that with your courage and do what your valedictorian and salutatorian told you. Build a better world. Let me offer you a fast formula for a wonderful life. How many of you know about equations? You've learned that somewhere along the line? Good. All right, here's an equation. S equals CWG. Now I'm going to translate that equation for you. No matter how you define it, I hope each one of you will organize your life and work to aim for that first letter, which I shall define as success. Success. That's not an ugly word. It's a wonderful word. You may be a wonderful artist, teacher, banker, farmer, scientist, doctor, carpenter, or business executive. But whatever you do, make the choices that will give you a love for your work and an opportunity to make it a hobby as well as a profession. The people who find success in what they do invariably work from a base of lively curiosity. Curiosity. Chris, I want you to be incurably curious. Now, you've made a good start, and so is our salutatorian over here. You've made a good start in being curious. But I want you to be incurably curious about how we can make our Constitution continue to give us a working government at every level, local, state, and national, I want you to be curious about ways in which your work can be more effective as an instrument of social improvement. I want you to be curious about unsolved problems in science, music, social services, drama, education, physical and mental illnesses, agriculture, business, and ecology. I don't want you to let anybody break that ozone layer above us, because all the air will leak out and you'll roll on the ground and gasp, unable to breathe. That's not a pretty prospect. I want you to be curious about every facet of this life around you. That's the seed in the success formula, but don't merely stop with being curious. I want you to be willing to do the 1,000 experiments that Thomas Edison did in order to develop the light bulb. I want you to do the research that enabled Jonas Salk to develop polio vaccine. I want you to seize the inspiration which enabled Beethoven to write his magnificent Ninth Symphony. In other words, make that initial W stand for intellectual and continuing work in your life. No amount of wishing will bring about a cure for AIDS. No casual thinking will solve the problem of world hunger. No lazy hope will cure our air and water problems. The problems of crime and justice will yield only to courageous and sustained work. I want you to work toward a world of peace and plenty for all God's children who share this globe with us. You know, we're possibly the only nation on earth whose coinage carries the words, "In God we trust." In God we trust. Now we hold within our hearts and hands the decision to torture or to love our fellow men. Even today, there is the threat of war on a large scale, coexisting with a desperate effort to provide food, medical care, and shelter for those who hunger and fully know what it is to need and to want. We have one of the great health systems of this globe, but we confront a presently insoluble contagion of diseases which threatens the stability of society. I crave for each one of you sitting out there tonight a continuing motivation from an almighty being which will enable you, with God's help, to focus your lives and talents on creative and constructive ends. I congratulate you all on the dedication and effort which has brought you thus far. I congratulate your parents and your fellow citizens who made that magnificent effort last year and passed the levy and put you on the high road of success. I congratulate your teachers and administrators who have helped to spark creativity, work, and ennoblement which lie at the core of significant existence. And now, as you embark for strange and different places, don't leave any of yourself safely on shore. Have the nerve to go forth bravely where Mr. Spock, anybody know Mr. Spock? Hold up your hand. You know Mr. Spock? All right. I want you to go bravely where Mr. Spock, Captain Kirk, and all their crew have blazed the path for you to go where no man has ever gone before. I wish you Godspeed and congratulations.
Dr. Barnes, you asked a moment ago of Mrs. Howell whether or not each of those diplomas had been signed by hand. I can assure you that they were for every one of these kids. And now, thanks to you, I have one more to sign. Having personally graduated from Walden Wallace College when it was so clearly under the positive guidance and inspiration of Dr. Bonds, it is indeed a very real personal pleasure to share the stage with a man whose influence so dearly shaped my own future. On behalf of all of us, I would like to thank you for a speech that will truly and forever be unique. We sometimes wonder as public speakers if anyone pays attention to us. I can guarantee you that Kristen Brody will remember your comments forever. I thank you for joining us and sharing in this very, very special occasion with us. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce a lady whose direction and guidance for the Strongsville City Schools has spanned a number of years and in a number of varied capacities. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Strongsville Board of Education, Mrs. Carol Sweeney.
Graduates of 87, Dr. Bonds, guests. One of the things that I agree with Chris on is it is kind of nice to have. And I, too, will be delighted to make sure you get a signed one. Dr. Bond said, it won't buy you a car, won't buy you groceries, it won't buy your clothes, but what it represents will enable you to do that. One of the things that the Strongsville Board decided several years ago we would like to do is honor people in education who have contributed to the total community of education. So the way we could honor them, and I am not going to tear his up, is with an honorary diploma. We add that person to the class of 87, and Chris, you're on your own with Dr. Bonds. So Dr. Bonds, would you come back? I will present you an honorary diploma as a member of the class of 87.
Thank you.
I would like to read it. This certifies that Dr. Alfred E. Bonds has been awarded an honorary diploma by the Strongsville City Board of Education for the Strongsville Senior High School, a high school of the first grade approved by the Ohio Department of Education and the North Central Association Secondary Schools and Colleges, and is therefore awarded this diploma, witnessed, and is signed.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I couldn't even tear it up because it's on a plaque.
Thank you so much.
Graduates, parents, and honored guests, commencement is a time for emotions. They are many, they are varied, and they are often conflicting. We have, for instance, each come to this common experience with emotions which are unique to our own respective positions, and that's okay. Both as parents and as faculty, we have developed emotions for these young men and women which have evolved and been nurtured through years of working, laughing, and caring together. And while our graduates sit here with an understandable sense of accomplishment and pride, it tends to be a bittersweet moment for our parents and staff. It is, if you will, the moment when we must begin to accept the reality that we have indeed, as a popular song once said, traded the crayons for the perfume. And it is a moment that prompts me to share with our parents especially a story sent to me years ago entitled Reflections on Children. It goes like this. One of these days you'll shout, "Why don't you kids grow up and act your age?" And they will. Or you'll say, kids, get outside and find something to do and don't slam the door. And they won't. You'll straighten the boys' bedrooms neat and tidy, bumper stickers discarded, spread, tucked, and smooth, toys displayed on the shelves, hangers in the closet with clothes actually attached. Animals will be caged. Then you'll shout out loud, "Now I want it to stay like this." And it will. You'll prepare a perfect dinner with a salad that hasn't been picked to death and a cake with no finger traces in the icing, and you'll say, "Now there's a meal fit for company." And you'll eat it alone. No more plastic placemats stained with spaghetti. No more spreads to protect sofas from damp bottoms and dusty shoes. No more gates to stumble over in the doorway of the baby's room. No more Hot Wheels or Barbie dolls under the couch. No more playpens to arrange the room around. No more anxious nights under a vaporizer tent. No more cracker crumbs on the sheets. No more wall-to-wall water in the bathroom. No more iron-on patches. No wet, knotted shoelaces, pants with knees out, or rubber bands for ponytails. Imagine a lipstick with a point on it. Not having to get a babysitter on New Year's Eve. Family wash only once a week. Seeing a steak that isn't ground. Marketing with only groceries in the basket. No PTA meetings. No more carpools. No blaring radios or Sesame Street 3 times a day on television. No more washing her hair at 10 o'clock at night. No more wondering where is the family car and having your own roll of Scotch tape. Think about it. No more Christmas presents out of construction paper and will hold glue. No more sloppy oatmeal kisses. No more toothfairy. No more giggles in the night. No knees to heal. No responsibility. Only a voice crying, "Why don't you grow up?" And the silence echoing back, "I did." I'm sure that our graduates can relate as memorably to some of those thoughts as well as can their parents. And with their parents and relatives in mind, I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit different than what Dr. Bonds asked you to do a moment ago. At this time, I'm going to ask the graduates to stand for a moment, face your parents, and give them a round of applause to show them how much they mean to you at this moment. Will you do that? Thank you. But while we adults must learn to deal with our emotions, we must remember that we are here tonight to celebrate commencement for the class of 1987. The class of '87 has demonstrated its ability to function successfully as individuals and as a class. Individually, Senior Salute recently recognized 76 scholarships awarded to 55 members of the class of 1987 with a 4-year college value in excess of $443,000. 115 members of this class received certificates of basic studies awarded by the Ohio Department of Education. 56 members of the class of 1987 who received the Presidential Academic Fitness Award signed by President Ronald Reagan. And the academically top 5% of the senior class numbered 25 students with grade point averages ranging from 3.7 to 4.0. As a class, the class of 1987 has distinguished itself in a variety of contests and projects in the fine and applied arts at Polaris and at Strongsville Senior High School. As adults, we have often marveled with envy at the talent possessed by the members of this class as exhibited in fine woodworking, art, music, business, homemaking, and a variety of other arenas. Athletically, the leadership and talent of the members of the senior class propelled our athletic season to far more success than anyone had ever dreamed possible back in August. Tomorrow, however, you, the members of the class of 1987, will begin to chart different courses, and in a matter of just a few weeks and months, you will have scattered yourselves all across the face of this globe. It is sadly, as Mr. Marshall mentioned Saturday morning, the very last time that the class of 1987 will all be together. You will, of course, always be welcome back. But after this evening, Strongsville High School will never be quite the same as you have come to know it. Only the memories will bind you together. We sincerely hope that they have been good memories and good experiences which will stand you in good stead as you face the challenges of the future. We are, however, confident that you are indeed well prepared to not only meet but to conquer those challenges, and we congratulate you. Dr. Brown, members of the Strongsville Board of Education, at this time, it is my distinct pleasure to present to you the graduating class of 1987. In so doing, I am certifying that each member of this class has indeed met or exceeded the requirements for graduation as prescribed by the state of Ohio and the Strongsville Board of Education. At this time, I would like to call forward Ms. Margie Robb, who will assist Mrs. Karen Hollow, Dr. Brown, and the members of the Board of Education in the distribution of your well-deserved diplomas. In so doing, might I once again remind all of our spectators and guests tonight of the reverberating acoustics here in the Coliseum and of our efforts to televise this production. As such, I would ask that you hold all applause and recognition until the conclusion of the distribution. In this manner, every graduate will be assured of proudly hearing his or her name announced to proclaim their accomplishment. I thank you.
Matthew Urbancic. Mark McQuaid. Robert Astor. David Adriano. Robert Allen. Brian Appleby. Travis Baylog. Gregory Baylog. Stanley Ballwith. John Bassett.
Patrick Becca. Bob Bedford. Kristen Brody. Leslie Warren. Jennifer Anderson. Tamara Asher. Don Balazy. Michelle Balsamo. Christina Baranski. Laura Bates. Marion Bain. Simona Bates. Diana Becca. John Barba. Victor Bolesky. Daniel Bender. Brian Berry. Charles Billings. Bradley Blackham. Thomas Blair. Ronald Bourne. Alexander Bourne. Eric Britnell. Andrew Bronchi. Scott Brown. Tracy Bernasek. Ellen Bielkowski. Judy Beseda. Linda Black. Megan Black. Jennifer Blaha. Jennifer Blauman. Lisa Boros. Kristen Bosch. Christine Bourne. Suzanne Brown. Deanna Claus. Lynn Blaney. Richard Barron. James Braska. Christopher Busiri. Victor Buencanseo, James Buckvick, Warren Buskirk, Jeffrey Butita, John Cardellino, Randall Carson, Brian Cobb, Anthony Colabianchi, Bart Cole, Marcia Bryant, Renee Carey, Amy Cashin, Marla Castle, Sheila Cerny, May Saigon, Chris Daniels, Wendy Dash, Rachel Doria, Bridget Day, Suzanne Diesner, Jennifer Dollar, Dale Bibro, Stephen Bullock, Michael Cole, Darren Collins, Clifford Conroy, Ernest Dalton Jr., David Deemer, Russell Dempko, Ryan Donnelly, Richard Ehas, Brian English, George Iterovich, Lisa Del Grippo, Lisa DeLong, Carla de Blasi, Dana DiLorenzo, Lori Dinsey, Cynthia D. Rienzo, Dina DeSenza, Michelle Dotson, Tina Dedzinski, Carol Daldner, Sarah Dowler, Maureen Donnelly, Jeffrey Bugera, Edward Christensen, Andrew Farrell, Derek Fess, Irfan Fardas, Sean Fitzpatrick, Daniel Ford, Daniel Faust, Mark Frum, Scott Fuller, Lisa Dunn, Kirsten Derkowski, Ashley Eck, Kelly Edwards, Christine Eicher, Suhad Almosa, Julie Evans, Tracy Ferris, Jacqueline Fernandez, Rebecca Ferranti, Amy Forster, Bridget Frick, Jeffrey Craddock, Thomas Duncan, Jim Garcia, Bruce Gilbert, Darren Glenser, Bradley Glenn, Scott Gleski, Jay Goodkin, Christopher Greedham, Richard Haynes, Thomas Hall, Scott Halley, Stephanie Gall, Suzanne Gallowitz, Marie Gambino, Joyce Garkowski, Michelle Garfala, Don Ginky, Kim Go, Christine Goyce, Robin Gorland, Gina Gottfried, Denise Gottschalk, Michelle Gandalf, Matthew Dalton, Todd Hamula, Matt Hansel, Jeffrey Haar, James Hara, Michael Hausman, Michael Heidinger, Eric Henke, Daniel Hertvik, Timothy Hinkle, Brian Hosevar, Christopher Hataling, Rochelle Grace, Denise Graff, Holly Graham, Jennifer Greenwald, Tracy Haybart, Michelle Haney, Geraldine Hawk, Kalina Harris, Wendy Herman, Joan Hertvik, Cheryl Hollis, Patricia Hayden, Thomas Harrington, Todd Huntsman, Brett Hauk, Keith Hyduck, Lawrence Jancic, Robert Johnson, Robert Jones, Brian Joniak, James Jordan, Gregory Kapkar, Joseph Kasnick, Christopher Kemock, Gary Keener, Michelle Hardy, Jennifer Holton, Sue Horak, Anne Marie Hauser, Kristen Hudako, Pamela Hunter, Ellen Intermill, Tracy Jenkins, Ann Jensen, Deborah Jevnikar, Patricia Hertzquist, Kelly Hawthorne, Matthew Kleinfeld, Matthew Kittleberger, Jeffrey Klickman, Brett Klingerman, James Nipper Jr., Jerry Kokan, Michael Conoval, Kenneth Corney, David Kowalczyk, Kenneth Rogalecki, Brian Crutch, Brian Cootie, Katharina Jindra, Catherine Johnson, Lori Johnson, Kelly Joe, Sylvia Uhas, Anna Carlson, Lisa Kasprick, Lisa Kenny, Catherine Kish, Elizabeth Klein, Kimberly Knack, Eileen Joyce, Jason Knott, Michael Kalota, Richard Lance Jr., David Lauerhaus, Albert Lechler, Kevin Lenahan, Jeffrey Lewandowski, John Liu, James Mates, David McCosco, David McCarrick, Amy Napick, Christine Kolobaba, Cheryl Korak, Kimberly Kosiba, Kelly Kramer, Vanessa Lavdis, Stephanie Lesky, Kathy Little, Lynn Longmore, Michelle Mackey, Christine Mahoney, Danielle Lyson, Victoria Laffoon, Christopher Crudy, Christopher Lombardo, David Maloney. Mark Marietta. Thomas Martin. Frank Masick. Matthew Mazzio. Keith McCumsey. David McCullough. James McGowan. Ronald McIntosh. Sean McKinney. Michelle Maitland. Carrie Malkus. Renee Martin. Angela Martinez. Lisa Matuzny. Michelle McCaskey. Lisa McGlamory. Helen McCune. Natalie Medice. Deborah Maynard. Christopher Modenbach. Jimmy McMahon, Jr. Dirk Meister. Scott Mengay. Robert Murnone. Robert Machete. William Mihalis. Daniel Mahalik. Daniel Milchak. Yaya Mirza. James Mock, Jr. Christopher Nida. Victoria Morrow. Kathleen Meter. Ann Miller. Michelle Miller. Charlotte Mooneyham. Brenda Moore. Ruth Ann Muha. Mary Ann Malvena. Christine Maraski. Susan Murray. Christy Musal. Daniel Mulgrew. Bradley Murray. Victor Nadoma. Robert Neubauer. Bruce Nussbaum. Stephen Ort. David Pakanowski. David Polini. Thomas Pine. Stephen Quinzer. Roy Range. Susan Nero. Renee Neubauer. Rhonda Neubauer. Stephanie Nichols. Laura Nichols. Dana Nichols. Jean Novak. Wendy Orbis. Laura Parker. Kimberly Paskett. Anna Marie Palmer. Dwayne Palmer. Michael O'Connor. Michael Rooney. Daniel Rotundo. Thomas Zabry. Ronald Sater. Matthew Schur. James Schreiber Jr. John Sciano Jr. Frank Saminsky. Jeffrey Shandor. Glenn Sheriff. Maureen Patrick. Jakruti Patel. Lisa Paukert. Catherine Pelko. Lisa Pittner. Amy Planet. Melissa Powers. Lori Prandy. Catherine Pring. Christine Prusnick. William Pachuta. Michael Poyman. Brian Sill. Robert Sinatra. Edward Smith. Corey Smith. James Patrick Smith. Ben Spence. Randolph Spencer. John Steffen. Donald Suchu, Vincent Suey, Christine Pusatello, Kristen Rash, Marion Reddington, Adria Redmond, Kimberly Richards, Michelle Rafi, Denise Ruth, Michelle Rodebush, Doreen Royer, Sharon Rush, Dawn Sapera, Debbie Sapera, Frank Pisker, Gary Pilla, Michael Slow, Timothy Tabor, Richard Tesman, Nicholas Thompson, Mark Trimmer, Jeffrey Veldhuizen, Brian Ventura, Reed Vitovis, Dennis Ray, Michael Sima, Lynn Sherdell, Denise Sendry, Angela Sexton, Kristen Sheldon, Michelle Singer, Penny Slansky, Sherry Sloan, Susan Sly, Melinda Sobek, Melinda Saboni, Renee Sokol, Tina Sontag, Robert Schmiedel, Robert Spence, Tori Volek, Robert Walsh, Brooke Webb, John Whedon, Thomas Wilcox, Dana Williams, Robert Woods, Jr. Todd Taskey. Craig Tomko. Brenda Stocco. Melissa Stanzik. Linda Stieg. Stacy Sutton. Michelle Tamalevich. Kelly Taylor. Rochelle Tennant. Jennifer Tober. Patricia Tracy. Sarah Trippin. Tanya Tucker. Kimberly Turner. Harry Underhill. David Winar. Scott Wilhelm. Barry Yankee. Brian Yankee. Scott Yoakum. Todd Zelenka. George Zoll. James Sadolchek. Lisa Tordzik. Karen Vankucha. Marcia Vargo. Amy Wall. Lee Werner. Michelle Witkowski. Allison Will. Tracy Williams. Bridget Wilson. Jill Winters. Renee Wittenmeyer. Karen Wright. Shirley Yankee. Kim Yee. Kimberly Yisha. Jennifer Urich. Lisa Zahan. Lisa Zyhowski. Corey Selby Zemke. Tina Zaveski. Sherry Shepard.
In closing this evening, I would like to remind our graduates and our parents that following the recessional, our new graduates will be proceeding out of the Coliseum through the ramp behind me. We ask that the parents leave as you entered, and please meet your new graduates in the parking lot. Members of the class of 1987, we are often inclined to remember individuals and classes by the impacts which they have had upon us. I am proud to remind you that your class, perhaps more so than any other in recent history, has truly left a most positive legacy. Earlier this evening, Dr. Brown recognized the collective efforts of the students of Strongsville toward the successful passage of the issues this past fall. The special and unique legacy of this class is that we will not only remember your special involvement in this experience in community civics, but beginning this fall, we will be able to walk in each morning and see a renovated building that we owe so very, very much to your individual efforts. We will therefore see your legacy daily, and in doing so, we will also be reminded of the efforts and devotion invested by so many of you in a project from which we knew and you knew you would not personally benefit. You have taught us much this past year about the value of doing for others. So, while it is traditional to close by inviting the graduates to come back and visit, in your case, we really do want you to come back in a little while so that you too can see the fruits of your own labors. Our best wishes to each of you. Class of 1987, for the last time, you are dismissed.
Broadcast of the 1987 Strongsville High School commencement ceremony has been sponsored by James Lumber, providing all your lumber and hardware building needs since 1952. James Lumber on Prospect Road in Strongsville wishes the 1987 Strongsville graduates good luck with confidence, because we build confidence. And by Strongsville Savings Bank. Established in 1961, Strongsville Savings Bank is now a complete financial center for all your financial needs. Contact us for home, car, and boat loans, as well as Visa and MasterCard services. Congratulations and best wishes to the Strongsville High School class of 87. And by Weber & Son Service and Repair. Weber & Son Service and Repair, offering complete mechanical repair for cars, trucks, marine engines, and lawnmowers. Congratulates the class of 87. Located at 20720 Westwood Drive in Strongsville, quality repair, people who care.